The Galactic Council chamber was a marvel of engineering and diplomacy. A spherical room 1 kilometer in diameter, suspended inside the neutral asteroid station known as Meridian 7. Hundreds of species sat in concentric rings around a central platform, each delegation separated by atmospheric domes tailored to their biology. The Veth breathed ammonia. The Karate floated in brine tanks. The Sulhuri preferred darkness so total that their section appeared as an absence, a hole cut from the light. At the center of the platform, 2 humans stood alone. Ambassador Ethan Reyes looked like he hadn't slept in 3 days, because he hadn't. His collar was slightly crooked. There was a faint coffee stain on his cuff that he hadn't noticed, or had noticed and stopped caring about. He was 39 years old, compact and quiet, with the kind of stillness that other species sometimes mistook for calm. Beside him, Dr. Zura Okafor held a data tablet in one hand and had her other hand resting flat against her thigh. A grounding technique, Ethan knew, that she used when she was trying not to show fury. Her jaw was set. Her eyes were very, very still. They had received the news 47 minutes ago. Fleet Commander Vreth of the Hegemony, a species of 8-limbed cephalopods who had been slowly absorbing border systems for 60 years, had launched a surprise strike on the human colony of Moreau Station. Population, 340,000. Civilians, families, children. The attack was not a mistake. It was a message. The Council had called an emergency session. 43 species now watched the 2 humans standing in the center of the room, waiting to see how humanity would respond. Most expected grief. Some expected rage. A few, the elder species who had watched civilizations rise and crumble like sand, expected something else. They weren't sure what. High Speaker Kelvarin, a Thalori whose iridescent membrane rippled with bureaucratic authority, addressed the chamber. The Council recognizes the tragedy of the Moreau incident, Kelvarin said, choosing the word incident very carefully. We invite the human delegation to present their. Stop. Ethan's voice was quiet. Not loud, not theatrical, just very, very flat. The chamber went silent. Kelvarin blinked all 3 of their eyes. Ambassador Reyes, protocol dictates. I heard you, Ethan said. He turned slowly to look at the Hegemony delegation, 12 Vreth commanders seated behind atmospheric shielding, their tentacles folded with what passed for self-satisfaction in their species. I just don't care about protocol right now. Zara set her tablet down on the platform floor. She didn't need it anymore. She had memorized everything on it. 340,000 people, she said. Her voice was calm in the way that deep water is calm, because there is no bottom visible, and you cannot tell how cold it gets. That's how many humans were on Moreau Station. We're getting updated casualty reports. Would you like to hear the number, Commander Vreth? The lead Hegemony commander, a creature the size of a small car, with skin the color of bruised muscle, shifted. The Hegemony acted within contested. The number, Zara said, is not yet final. That sentence landed like something dropped from a great height, because the Council understood what she meant. The number was not final because the rescue ships hadn't reached the debris field yet, because they didn't know how many had made it to the emergency shelters, because the count was still happening. Ethan walked to the edge of the central platform and looked up at the Hegemony delegation with an expression that several of the elder species would later describe in their reports using different words. The Karate called it the convergence face, the look a predator makes when it has stopped calculating escape routes and started calculating attack vectors. The Sulhuri, who had no word for it in their language, borrowed one from an old translation archive. Resolve. I want to be very clear, Ethan said, so that every species in this room understands what is about to happen. Not what might happen. What is happening? Right now? As we stand here. He paused. Humanity has a threat response architecture that is, by the assessment of every xenobiologist who has studied us, unusual. We are one of the few species in the known galaxy that evolved as persistence predators. We do not have the fastest reflexes. We are not the strongest. We do not have natural armor or venom or echolocation. He glanced around the room, meeting whatever passed for eyes in each delegation. What we have is the ability to decide something and then not stop. Kelvarin's membrane rippled with something that might have been unease. Ambassador, the Council's role is mediation. We're past mediation, Zara said, without raising her voice. She picked up her tablet, turned it so the display faced the hegemony delegation. It showed a star map. 14 systems lit up in red. In the last 43 minutes, she said, while we were traveling here, our government authorized the mobilization of 6 carrier groups. They are already moving, not toward the border, through it. We have also contacted the Mirati Compact, the Solan Federation, and the Free Systems of Kareth. All 3 have treaty obligations that activate upon confirmation of civilian mass casualties. All 3 have confirmed. She let that sit for a moment. All 3 fleets are also already moving. The chamber erupted. Translators chattered. Atmospheric systems hummed louder as heart rates and their biological equivalents spiked across 43 species. Fleet Commander Vreth rose from their seat. You cannot. This is an act of... It is an act of consequence, Ethan said. He wasn't shouting. He didn't need to. The acoustics of the chamber were perfect, and his voice carried to every corner without effort. That's all it is. You made a decision. We are the consequence of that decision. The math is very simple. An elder Thalori delegate, ancient enough to have attended council sessions that predated human spaceflight, made a sound that the translators rendered as a request for attention. Every eye in the room turned to them. I would ask the human delegation, the elder said slowly, whether there is any action the hegemony could take, now, in this chamber, that would pause the response you have described. Ethan and Zara looked at each other. It was a brief look, the kind that people exchange when they have known each other long enough that full conversations happen in a glance. The kind that happens between 2 people who have spent the last 43 minutes on a shuttle, sitting across from each other, not talking, because everything that needed to be said had already been said. Zara looked back at the elder Thalori. Full unconditional withdrawal from all contested border systems, she said. Immediate. Verified by council observers. Full reparations. Amount to be determined by independent assessment of Moreau casualties, infrastructure loss, and long-term displacement costs. Formal recognition of civilian strike as a war crime under Galactic Accord statutes, submitted to the record by the hegemony's own delegation. She paused, and a public statement, broadcast on all hegemony channels, that this was not a border dispute, that it was an atrocity. In those words, the chamber was very quiet. Fleet Commander Vreth's tentacles moved in a pattern that the translators flagged as distress. You ask us to. This is humiliation. No, Ethan said. Humiliation is what comes next if you don't. He said it simply, without anger, without relish. That was the part that many of the elder delegates would later say they remembered most. The complete absence of performance in it. No snarl. No dramatic declaration. Just a human being telling another species the factual outcome of their choices, the way one might describe weather. The Sulhuri delegation, the ones seated in total darkness, sent a text-only communication to the council record. It said, "We have studied 340 spacefaring species. Humans are the only ones who become quieter as the danger they represent increases." This should have been in the threat assessment. It probably should have been. The hegemony delegation requested a recess. Ethan walked back to stand beside Zara. She handed him a water container from her bag. He drank half of it without looking at her. You okay? She said quietly. No, he said, equally quiet. Me neither. They stood together in the center of the Galactic Council chamber, 2 humans in rumpled clothes with coffee stains and data tablets, and waited. Around them, an empire calculated the cost of what it had done. It took 11 minutes. Then Fleet Commander Vreth asked to be recognized by the council and began to speak. Outside, in the cold dark between stars, 6 carrier groups did not stop moving. Not yet. Not until the math was complete and the numbers were verified and every condition had been confirmed by independent eyes. Humanity had decided something. And humanity did not stop.